Hi there, boys and girls, and welcome back to another great story time and nursery rhyme. And tonight's story is A Horse Named Bob. So, if you girls and boys have the same book, then you can read along with me and my buddy here. And let's see what Bob is up to. Come on. Alright, A Horse Named Bob. Jane loved horses. She loved reading about horses. She even dreamed about horses. Could I please get a horse? Jane asked her mom and dad. We don't have money for a horse, Mom said. Where would you keep a horse? Dad asked. Then one day after school, there was a horse. A big horse was eating grass. The horse was in Mrs. Gray's yard. You have a horse, Jane cried. Miss Gray frowned. She said, I thought it was an elephant. My brother can't care for old Bob now. I have to care for him. Jane ran home with the good news. I prayed for a horse, Jane said, and here he is. You'll see, I'm going to be Bob's best friend. And there she is, so excited with her new best friend, Bob. Here, Bob, Jane called the horse. But the horse did not come. Jane held out an apple. Bob still would not come to her. That horse would never come, said Miss Gray. He does not like anybody. The next day, Jane tried again. She picked up grass for Bob. Here, Bob, Jane called. Bob looked up at Jane, but he still did not come. Jane sat on the fence. That's okay, she said. I'll sing you a song. Jane sang, Bob loves me. Bob still did not come, but Jane knew Bob was listening. Why are you still trying? Miss Gray asked Jane the next day. Bob still doesn't like anyone. Jane felt like crying. Maybe Miss Gray's right. Bob may not like me, Jane said, but I like Bob. All week Jane visited Bob. She bought apples. She sang songs. Jane told Bob about school. Miss Gray shook her head. Give up, little girl, Miss Gray said. That horse will never come. Why is Miss Gray so mean? Jane asked Dad that night. She's not mean, Jane, Dad said. I think she's lonely. Miss Gray doesn't like me there, Jane said. And she's not too nice. Well, Dad said, just be nice to her anyway. The next day, Jane had a plan. She packed 2 apples and a book. It's a horse story, she told Bob. Then she read Black Beauty to him. Bob stepped closer and closer. I think he's becoming best friends with Jane. Jane took out one of her apples. Bob doesn't want your apple, Miss Gray said. Jane smiled at the old woman. This one is for you, Jane said. Jane held out the apple. For me? Miss Gray asked. I thought you'd like it, Jane said. All of a sudden came a Bob took a big bite of the apple. You come to me, Jane said. Well, I be, Miss Gray said. Bob took another bite. The big horse let Jane pet her. Bob likes you, Miss Gray said. Sorry about your apple, Jane said to Miss Gray. She dug out the other apple. Here you go, Jane said. This is from Bob and me. Miss Gray smiled. Jane smiled too. Thank you, Jane, Miss Gray said. Bob and Miss Gray ate their apples. I think you made a friend, Miss Gray said. I think I made 2 friends, Jane said. So in the end, she made friends with Bob and Miss Gray. So, I hope you girls and boys enjoyed tonight's bedtime story. And make sure you join me and my friend for another great adventure and another great story. But before we go, let's sing a song. What song would you girls and boys like to sing? I think we have a good one. How much is that teddy bear in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is the teddy bear in the window? I do hope the teddy bear's for sale. The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider climbed up the spout again. So we'll see you next time for another great story and adventure. And from me and my friend, wishing you sweet dreams and hope you guys will go on your own adventure tonight. So join us next time and we'll see you soon. Bye.